The story begins with Saskia painting under the willow tree, her favorite spot, where the whispers of the leaves inspire her art. Alex watches from afar, his heart heavy with words unsaid. Mr. Alcott, their benefactor, arrives in his sleek sports car, the leather seats creaking under his weight. He approaches them with a smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. "Saskia, my dear, your work has come to my attention once more. It's quite impressive, truly. I believe I have a proposition for you." Saskia's heart skips a beat. She's been waiting for this moment for so long. "Yes, sir. I want to take your work to the world, Saskia. I'll make sure your name is known and your paintings are seen by those who appreciate true talent. But there is a price, my dear. You must leave this village, leave Alex behind. You'll be my protégé, my muse. You'll travel the world with me, creating masterpieces that will live on for generations." Saskia's face falls as she realizes what Mr. Alcott is asking of her. She looks over at Alex, who has a sad smile on his face, as if he's already resigned himself to her decision. The wind picks up, rustling the leaves of the willow tree, whispering words of wisdom that only Saskia can hear. "Fame and fortune come at a cost, Saskia. Are you willing to pay it?" She turns back to Alex, her heart heavy with guilt. "Alex, she begins, but he cuts her off, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "I understand, Saskatchewan. You were meant for more than this village. You were meant to shine." His words sting, but she knows they're true. Mr. Alcott watches them with a calculating gleam in his eye, sensing the tension between them. He clears his throat, breaking the silence. "Well, Saskia, what is your answer?" Saskia looks into Alex's eyes one last time, trying to commit the image of his gentle face to memory. With a heavy heart, she turns back to Mr. Alcott. "I accept your offer, sir," she says, her voice barely audible over the wind. "I'll go with you, and I'll paint for you." The older man beams, clapping his hands together in delight. "Excellent! Excellent! We'll leave first thing in the morning. There's much for us to do, my dear." He turns to Alex, his expression softening momentarily. "I'm sure Alex will understand, given the opportunities that await you. We'll keep him in mind for future projects, of course." Alex's heart breaks a little more as he watches Saskia and Mr. Alcott walk away together, her arm looped through the older man's. He watches them until they disappear from sight, a lump forming in his throat. He turns back to his own canvas, but finds himself unable to paint. The images that once flowed so effortlessly now feel stifled, trapped inside him. Meanwhile, Saskia settles into her new life with Mr. Alcott, traveling the world and creating art that stuns audiences across the globe. She tries not to think about Alex too much, telling herself that she's doing what's best for her career. But deep down, she can't help but feel a sense of emptiness, as if a part of her is missing. Weeks turn into months and months into years. Saskia's fame continues to grow, but her heart remains restless. One day, as she's working on a new piece in her opulent studio, she receives a letter from Alex. Her heart skips a beat as she recognizes his name. She opens the envelope nervously, fearing the worst. As she reads the letter, a chill runs down her spine. Alex has been in a terrible accident, and his painting hand has been crippled. He can no longer paint, and he's bitter and resentful towards her for leaving him behind. The guilt that Saskia has been trying to suppress for years comes crashing down upon her like a wave. She realizes that her decision to leave Alex was not only selfish, but it also destroyed both of their dreams. Saskia doesn't know what to do. She wants to go to Alex, to make amends and try to help him in some way. But Mr. Alcott won't let her go. He holds her contract, and he's not about to let her out of it now that she's become so valuable to him. She feels trapped, caught between the two most important people in her life. Days turn into weeks, and Saskia can't stop thinking about Alex. She starts to sneak away from Mr. Alcott's parties and events, finding solace in the quiet of her room. One night, as she's staring out at the city lights, she comes up with a plan. She will paint a portrait of Alex, a masterpiece that will prove to him that he's still an artist, even if he can't paint with his hands anymore. It will be her way of saying sorry, of showing him that she never forgot him. Early the next morning, she sneaks out of the mansion and makes her way to a small, out-of-the-way art supply store. She spends the entire day gathering paints, brushes, and canvas, losing herself in the familiar routine of an artist. When she returns to her room, she sets up her easel and begins to work. The hours pass like minutes, and as she paints, she feels a connection to Alex that she hasn't felt in years. She works tirelessly, pouring all of her love and regret into the painting. When it's finally finished, she can't help but step back and admire her work. It's not just a portrait of Alex. It's a testament to their friendship, to the love they shared, and to the dreams they once had together. With a heavy heart, she packs up the painting and slips it under her bed, vowing to find a way to get it to Alex. Saskia continues to sneak away from Mr. Alcott's parties, growing more desperate to find a way to make things right with Alex. One night, as she's searching for a way to smuggle the painting out of the mansion, she overhears Mr. Alcott arguing with his business partner about how much her newest piece is worth. She realizes that if she were to sell the painting, she could use the money to buy her freedom from Mr. Alcott and finally be with Alex. She spends the next few days agonizing over her decision, but in the end, she knows it's the only way. She sneaks out to a small, discreet art dealer and arranges to sell the painting anonymously. The dealer is impressed by the quality of the work and offers her an exorbitant amount of money. After the transaction is complete, she feels a mix of relief and guilt as she makes her way back to the mansion. When she finally returns to her room, she can't help but feel a sense of freedom washing over her. She knows that she'll have to face the consequences of her actions, but for now, she's determined to make things right with Alex. She spends the next few days meticulously planning her escape, using the money she earned from the sale of the painting to book a flight to the small town where Alex now lives. The day of her escape finally arrives. She packs her few belongings, slips out of the mansion unnoticed, and hails a cab to the airport. As the plane takes off and she looks out the window, she can't help but feel a sense of hope and anticipation building within her. She knows that she's about to face the most difficult challenge of her life, but she also knows that she's finally taking control of her destiny. After what seems like an eternity, the plane lands in the small, sleepy town where Alex lives. The airport is deserted. But Saskia doesn't care. She's finally here, and she's determined to make things right. She walks up to the only person she sees, a young man sitting on a bench with a paintbrush in his hand, and she knows instantly that it's him. Her heart races as she approaches him, her hand trembling as she extends it. "Alex," she says softly, "I'm so sorry." Alex looks up at her, his eyes filled with surprise and anger at first. But as he takes her hand in his, a slow smile spreads across his face. "Sask," he says, his voice choked with emotion. "I knew you'd come back to me." And with that, they embrace, finally able to put an end to the years of hurt and regret that had kept them apart. As they stand there in the quiet airport terminal, surrounded by their love and their art, they know that they'll face whatever challenges life throws at them together, because they're in it for the long haul. Saskia spends the next few days helping Alex reorganize his small studio and catching up on all the years they've missed. They talk late into the night, sharing stories and dreams and laughing together like they used to. Alex shows her some of his newest work, and she's amazed by his growth as an artist. He's become more confident, more daring, and more true to himself, despite his new handicapped status. One afternoon, as they sit outside in the warm sunshine, Saskia finally reveals the truth about why she left. She tells him about Mr. Alcott and his parties, about how she had to pretend to be someone she wasn't, and about how she longed for him every single day. Alex listens intently, his eyes never leaving hers, and when she's finished, he takes her hand in his again. "I understand," he says simply. "And I'm sorry too. For not being there for you. For not fighting harder for us." They sit in silence for a while, content to just be together. And as they watch a pair of birds soar across the sky, they realize that their love has never truly left them. It's been there all along, waiting for them to find their way back to each other. And now that they have, nothing can keep them apart. Alex leans in closer, his breath warm against Saskia's cheek. "Do you remember that day at the beach?" he asks, his voice barely a whisper. "When we made those sandcastles and promised always to be together?" She nods, a soft smile on her lips. "I think we kept that promise," she says, looking into his eyes. "Even when we were apart, we were always connected by our love for each other." The sun begins to sink lower in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of pink and orange. They stand up, hand in hand, and begin to walk down the dusty road. They don't know where they're going, but they know that wherever it is, they'll face it together. As they walk, Saskia can feel the weight of her past lifting from her shoulders. She's no longer defined by the mistakes she's made or the people who've tried to control her. She's finally free to be herself, to pursue her dreams and her passions. And she knows that Alex is the only person who could ever understand that. The air is warm and sweet, filled with the scent of wildflowers and the sound of crickets chirping. As they continue down the road, hand in hand, they feel a sense of peace wash over them. They've found their way back to each other, and nothing can ever tear them apart again. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it.